Fulcro project, and I've already started it up. So where we start it up is shadow CLJS start, npx shadow CLJS start.
Yeah.
That's in the terminal. The next thing is in the browser, upload 9630, and I don't think we answered where that's configured, but that's a shadow thing, and you start a watch, and then you can go to localhost 8000 and see what you're running in the application. So if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see Emacs.
Yeah, okay. So in Emacs, I'm not actually connected up to the REPL, but if I change the DOM, so at the moment on line 19, I've put in hello. If I change that and save it, it will update the application. So I've saved it, and if I quickly switch to browser, it'll show hello exclamation mark. But yeah, next step I think is connecting the REPL, and to do that, comma. How did we do it last time? I think it was extended to REPL, and then we've got J for jacking.
Jacking doesn't work, it's connect that works.
Yeah.
I was looking for it there, I couldn't see it. Connect external REPL, see.
And now it's saying Cider Connect. So I'm going to do. We did and, didn't we?
Yeah, we did both.
And then localhost, and then it's 9000, and Fulcro Hard's the name of my project. It's Fulcro the hardware. And then I think it must be Shadow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And did we go from main?
Yeah, because that's the name of our build.
It's saying connections established. So if I do space window slash open up REPL.
It's the pending CLJS one.
That's it, thank you. If I type in Linux, 1, 2, 3, you can see magic. That's strange stuff.
Okay.
So, which thing did you want to try first? You said about some of the tooling.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a link for that on the Chrome web store thing.
I think the only tooling I know about in Fulcro is Fulcro Inspect.
Yeah, it's that extension for Chrome. I put a link to it in the chat.
Yeah, I think that's the same as what I've got. I pulled it up from GitHub. Yeah,
it should be the same, I think.
So add to Chrome. It can really change all the data on the website, so you visit extension. Fulcro inspect has been added to Chrome. There's this extension by clicking on this icon, validate your extensions by blah blah blah. So yeah, if I go back to my Fulcro app, so the icon is there. It says Fulcro app detected. Open Chrome DevTools and look at the Fulcro inspect tab.
Do you want to swap the window to your browser so we can see what's going on?
Sure.
It's really coming down there. Looks good.
You can see the logo there for Fulcro inspect.
Yeah. So at this point we should now be able to right click anywhere on the page and press inspect.
So, okay. Let's go back
And there should be a new tab at the top. I think it says Fulcro inspect, but it's hidden underneath. Yeah. It'll be the last one in the list.
Oh, that's clever.
Cool. So, yeah, I don't know if you remember from the last session, but that's essentially what's in the database at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know what all of these do yet. These tabs of DB Explorer, transactions, network, query, index explorer. I think we might be able to see a transaction by the end of today, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, I think for now that's all we've got. In the REPL, can you merge some data in?
Sure.
It'd be interesting to see how it changes here.
Let's see. I need to switch back. Back. What I need to do is, I don't know if I'm in the right. Yeah, I need to change the namespace because I'm in COJS user and I need to go to the namespace app client. Okay, so now I can merge. And what I'll do is I'll just be quite quick.
I think merge with a bang after it doesn't auto-update. I think merge component does auto-update.
So merge with a... so what did you say? Merge...
I think merge with a bang after it that takes an entire tree. It won't schedule a render, but if you were to use merge component, it will schedule a new render in terms of live code reloading stuff.
Merge component. So I've forgotten the command. So it's merge component.
Yeah, let me just check running code for a second. Yeah, merge hyphen component with a bang after it will give you, like, once it's merged in the database, it will live reload the page.
Okay, I'm just about to do that change, and I've got to open the same page as you. That one. Fulcro. Yeah, okay, right. So we've got hello at the moment. Oh, no. Oh, it doesn't like it. But what's it got? Warning, undeclared name, no such namespace code. Yeah. I don't think so. Okay, that's right.
Should we swap to Emacs, or you think you got it?
Yes, okay. Let's switch back to Emacs. So you're not in the consent now. I went to Emacs. Yeah. So here's what I was trying to do.
Merge.
So,
okay. So, yeah, this bit is still confusing me a little bit, but the merge component thing. What does merge component take as its arguments? So merge component works on a component level. So you might insert one person at a time, for example, because a person is a component. Whereas merge with an exclamation mark will do it in how you have it there. It will put everything in, but it won't schedule a render. I mean, you can manually schedule a render as well after the fact, which might be easier in this point. So we.
yeah, but it's.
Oh, okay. Namespace merge not okay. That's very strange.
Back and up in
Right.
Yeah.
There's a typo in the namespace. We've moved into app-client, but the namespace looks like it's app.client.
Right. 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 Oh, anyway, okay. That's all. There we go, that's better. It's fine. It likes that. So I'm now going to report on what we're seeing in
Does that work? That's a surprise.
the window. I'm just trying to find that window. But because we've done that value in, we're not actually displaying it to the screen. So if I look at the DB, the DB is not refreshed. It's still showing app ID, app.client/sample.
Okay. In the REPL, can you have a look in the atom, in the database atom?
Yeah.
I think there's a special key on the app variable called state-atom, I think.
It's also in my screen, can't you? So.
Yeah. So if the first argument is the keyword of state atom, and then the second argument is app, I think we should be able to see and see. Can't remember if
it's showing state atom.
nil.
App.
That's strange.
It's returning nil.
Did I give you the wrong key? I might have done.
I've done state-atom.
Yes. correct, but I forgot to mention the namespace. So it's ::app, and then it's / state atom.
Sorry, colon, and then you broke up.
::app, which is lowercase app,
Oh,
and then
and data.
/ state atom.
Okay. Yeah. So that's showing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that makes more sense to me at least, because the call that we did earlier with the merge component is designed for like putting things in at a particular component level. The set of arguments that we have match a function called merge with a bang at the end. So if you were to delete that bit where it says -component and rerun that command, I think it will at least go into the database.
And yeah, and on my browser, that's changed. So let's switch. So merge actually did update. So I'm going to stop sharing this and then share my browser window.
I remember from last week that merge will put it in the database, but it wouldn't trigger a live
render of things.
A render, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to see that your page hasn't updated, but your inspector has.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
So yeah. if I do the merge again, so we've got now you can only see root person, so top level keys. I wonder if I click on one, you can see that is Adrian. Go back, person is John. It's supposed to be John. I'm going to actually change John's name. So and you can see it's updated.
Okay, cool.
And go back to the top. And there we are.
What happens if we schedule a render? Does the UI work correctly?
But I don't know what the command is to schedule a render, but also I've not changed this to display a person. So I'm going to switch back to Emacs.
Okay. I'm going to try and find that.
I think we need to change things around a bit. So we're displaying a person or maybe persons. So we've got this component sample, and we've also got this component person. And last time we had map UI person.
Yeah, I think we've got everything we need. We just need to run a render. I've sent that code over the chat.
Okay. Okay, so let's bring up. Okay, let's bring up a page. I'll tell you what I'm going to run app schedule window. So, in the client.
Cool.
So yeah, you can see it's updated. And users. So we don't need.
Just to refresh our memory, I'm going to send some code to do with the merging of components.
Okay.
That should do it.
So if actually, I've got. Okay, let's go that person. Oh, so that's adding the third person.
I believe it should do that.
Okay. Let's try that. Whilst you still can see my screen, I'm just going to move things around so I can see it as well. I do too.
Cool. Yeah, and that we were able to do that without scheduling the render.
Okay, I'm going to switch back to Emacs because I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Back in Emacs. Back in Emacs. Okay, so I think what I'd like to do now is you've seen we've got a list, Adrian, Betty, Adrian 2, but I'm explaining Don H2, so I think what I'd like to do is just to change this to a list, and in HTML.
So we can change the DOM to list item, so DOM/li.
Yeah, and then but we also need to, if we're going to do it properly, it's around here we need a UL.
Yeah.
So everything is DOM. Is everything like DOM all the way down?
I think so, yeah.
So then we'd do space there, and select that in, and then here for the DOM items. So yeah, just align. We'll tell you what it looks like. It's rendering, yeah, and it's just turned into a bullet list now.
Yeah.
So I suppose one thing we could do is we might want to refer. I don't know if this is. Can you tell me if this is idiomatic Fulcro? But what we could do is div is going to pop up all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think when we're streaming this, it will be the kind of question that we could hopefully ask people, because I've seen videos where I've forgotten his name now, the guy who makes Fulcro.
Is it Tony Care?
Yeah, I've seen videos where Tony has done both styles. The latest video that I saw, he was referring. So, yeah, I don't have a good answer for that.
Well, yeah, I've just made that change there, and I could see the shadow icon pop up as it made the change.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely works. Whether it's like idiomatic is a different question, I guess.
Because you're going to end up potentially with quite a large list of elements to refer to.
There is another side to this conversation in terms of like, for Clojure, function calls aren't really idiomatic for DOM elements. Like we tend to use hiccup, prefer to use data for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there are options for that as well, but it means using a different or putting another library into the dependencies to handle that. Like it works, but it's not how Fulcro works by default. And that's kind of, it is explained why that is in the Fulcro book towards the top. It says it's kind of just like it was kind of already done that way when the code base was still on Next,
Mm.
and so there's not been a big reason to change. Like the approach that we're using at the moment works on client side, and it also works server side. Whereas I think Hiccup by default is only working client side, or at least that's the suggestion. There is another library that is Hiccup syntax and works server side and client side, but if you want it, you have to import it and use it.
So Hiccup represents HTML.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a reason why you'd want to be applying Hiccup on the server side, so applying HTML. And I can think of probably two potential use cases.
Uh-huh.
So what one might be that you want to render the HTML on the server side and then fire it across, so it would be you're doing less work on the client.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second reason why I could see wanting to have server-side rendering is, say, you need to generate a PDF and you're using Hiccup as the markup language.
Yeah.
Is there any other use cases for server-side rendering of the HTML?
There's obviously uses for server-side rendering in terms of like speed and SEO and stuff. But yeah, it's not like it's a hard trade-off even in the JavaScript world to do it, because it puts a lot of strain on your server for every client that connects. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, it's better to make the client do the work than the server.
Mostly, yeah. Particularly if you have a rich application, and that comes back to our conversation of like you know, a blog versus Google Maps. They're different things, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we'll get to server-side rendering at some point.
Okay.
We'll see what the trade-offs are at that point.
So at the moment, we'll just stick to Fulcro's building.
Yeah, just to follow the videos.
Yeah.
For now.
Okay, so at the moment we've got a list of Adrian, Betty, and Adrian too. And maybe at the moment we're using merge to put that into the database.
Yeah.
But maybe it's time to have that so it's in by default.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the second part, the initial state.
Okay.
And I've written about three lines on that so far. But it should be enough to get us going, hopefully.
So, okay. So I've just switched tabs to Fulcro initial state mutations. Okay. So in the basics, we had a taste of the data management story, but as you may have noticed, if you refresh your page, your data disappears. What if you want to write some state that instantly appears on page load, initial state? So I can see the samples changing.
Yeah.
And we've got two samples, one for sample and one for person. So desk, have we got a correct way of pronouncing desk?
No, I never heard anyone pronounce it, so I don't know.
Oh, by the way, what is SC first? Is it stateful component?
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned that in the channel.
Okay. Right, let's do some copying and pasting. So I've copied from your blog post, well, from your run page. First, paste this. Let's see how it compares. So that's the same. No, it's not quite. So we have this, and now we've just gone underscore, and underscore means we don't actually need it. The query, that look the same. So the top line of the query is the same, but then we're adding initial state.
Yeah.
This initial state, does this actually put that into the state pattern?
I think how this works is when Fulcro is booting up for the first time, it will run this function. I still don't fully understand the inner workings of this function, but it will put this state into the database atom, so it will be available after the page loads.
Okay, I want to change that around really. Then we've got on-div, and then we've got URL person. So that's practically the same as before, apart from we just tweaked
Yeah.
the way slightly. So I'm going to delete this, and then let's have a look at the person part. Again, person, we don't need this anymore. Let's paste. Oops. Best person. This person keys name. We had query. Yeah, we were playing around with the first name, the phone name. So we'll come back to name. That's okay. Ident, person ID. And again, this has got its own initial state.
Yeah.
So I'm going to delete this. And we're looking at my Emacs, and I think probably it's not worth switching to the browser just to see what's going to happen here. I might as well just stay on here. So I'm going to just save this page now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, and it's rendered it again. But because we've already got in the database this merge value, it's not showing the initial state.
What happens if you reload the page? Because the initial state is only for the beginning of the page's life cycle.
Good. Okay, so yeah, so manually refreshing the browser brings up Sam and Adrian.
Okay. There are some bits of this that I still don't understand.
Okay.
So one of the first things that I tried to do here was for the person initial state function, I tried to just put identity in there, and then from the sample component to put the namespace keys in of person ID and person name. Now that doesn't work, and it looks like it intentionally doesn't work because there was an error. I can't remember what it said, but it looked um, like Fulcro knew about it because there's a certain amount of like error handling in these macros because def sc is a macro, a Fulcro macro. So yeah, to discover why the identity function doesn't work there would be interesting. I don't know if you noticed on line 9 and 10, but the maps that we're passing through are not namespaced, they're just like ID and name. And then we're destructuring them in the person component. And then putting them into the fully namespaced things that are in our database.
Okay, so can we walk through what's happening then from sample into person?
Yeah. So when
So we've got so we've got a person coming in, and the initial state we've got it's an anonymous function that you pass to it. Here we don't have to pass anything because it is creating the two people, Sam and Adrian.
Yeah.
Now those two people, is that actually in the database?
If you have a look at the have a look at the database, you should see Sam and Adrian in there, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, it does. Does it when I look at the Database Explorer, I can see that it's added those two persons. So that initial state changes the database.
Yeah, when the application first loads.
Okay.
So like if you were to change it now, you wouldn't see a change until you reloaded the page. And that's kind of by design.
So here the person that's coming in, we don't actually have a person.
Let's think about that. Yeah, it's a hard question. So the query underneath kind of explains to Fulcro what data is expected to be in this component. And that is saying that there should be root person, and then the sample component itself is destructuring that information. I imagine Fulcro internally is running our initial state thing first in order to get the information to pass through the component, but that's a guess on my behalf.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused about a lot of this. So when we're mapping over UI person, which is the factory function using person, we're calling person with the key function person ID. And person ID is
I think the
person ID.
I think it technically works if you take the key function thing out. I think that's purely for React.
Okay.
Because React, it's diffing stuff under the hood, gets benefits if you tell it what the unique identifier is.
Okay. So then I guess so here when we've got person and we're mapping through actually I'm going to stop sharing. I want to switch to the browser because I think this is important and useful. see. So switching now to a Chrome. So can you see
I can see your browser.
Yeah. So we've got Sam and Adrian. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have we're in Fulcro inspect. But if I right click inspect and look at the elements, so yeah, that's. I want to like make this a bit bigger. Yeah, you can. So you can see here we've got Dave,
Yeah.
Div Sam, and we've got Div Adrian. Now, in a React world, those two divs, we've not got an identifier on those divs. So, would it be useful from helpful to React if we put an ID on each of these divs?
No, but I think passing that key function thing in is that equivalent. Like, I think that's how it. Let's think about how this works for a second.
I was wondering if let's switch back to now you've seen my browser. I'm going to switch back to Emacs. And then let's go back to that's not good. Okay, so you can see my screen. You can see. So
yeah, I'm just reading some React docs.
If you look at my line 17,
yeah,
line that I'm on, so that's coming from sample, obviously.
Yeah.
And then line 18 and line 19, that's coming from the div person.
Yeah.
So if we're working on an application, and say we wanted to edit within, make a table, which we're doing. We've got a table, Sam, we've got Adrian. Say we have 10 other names, and we want to make it possible so a user can say delete an item from the list. To do that, there'd be like several ways to approach it. But from a React point of view, of Fulcro, do we need to like put an identifier in each of these items?
So
would that be the most efficient way of approaching it?
No.
Okay.
The way to trying to think the best way to explain this. So
would you use the end position of it instead?
No, it wouldn't do that. So the way that React works is that it has like an in-memory representation of the HTML elements.
Yeah.
And that's referred to as a virtual DOM. So it's not a real DOM per se. But it looks very much like a DOM, I suppose. If you were to look through it, it would have, div at the top level, and then it would have Sam on some leaf of that, and then Adrian on another leaf.
Yeah.
So I've linked some documentation on the keys aspect of lists, but what I think is happening here, fingers crossed, is that when we tell React what the unique identifier is, it's putting that unique identifier into its virtual DOM. So
Okay.
it's aware of the uniqueness, but it doesn't have to write that out to, because it never reads back from the DOM. It always like flushes it works with its own virtual DOM, and then it flushes to the real DOM every now and again.
Oh, okay. Let me ask it this way then. So we've got Sam and Adrian.
Yeah.
What if Sam was changed on the server and the server sends back to the client that Sam is now Sammy?
Yeah.
It's now got to update the page, update the DOM. Now, when it draws this section, is it going to draw just Sammy, or is it going to have to draw Sammy and Adrian again?
It's going to do it efficiently because it knows what's already on the page because of the virtual DOM is storing the unique identifier. It can say, oh, I've already got this, so I'm not going to flush that particular thing.
I can see, like, if it does a comparison on the two straight away, it'll know the identity is not the same. So it knows it's got to make a change. But what I'm asking really is the whole. So it's got like a tree of these items anywhere, and it can go down the tree and say, well, this hasn't changed, but this has. I think I understand what you were getting at now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I don't know if there's rendering differences between Fulcro and React in that way, like, because when you do merge component in Fulcro, it gives you a very specific part of that tree as well.
Mm.
So like you could skip a lot of that tree and then just focus on that component, and then you could check the unique keys and see what's changed and then change that.
Okay.
Um,
There might actually be another reason to why you'd want to put identities in those fields, but it'd be a non-React reason. So if you're writing an application that's going to have unit tests within it, having those IDs might be helpful for the tests, so you can like pinpoint the change that you've made. But from the React perspective, it's not useful.
Yeah, it's useful for a lot of stuff. I mean, that's kind of like the whole thing with Fulcro. In order to put something in the database in the normal way, you need a unique identifier for the thing that you're putting in. So we've been using person ID all of this time, but I don't think it likes it if you don't have an ident for a particular thing.
Okay.
Cool. So we're at the point. I still don't fully understand how initial state is actually working.
Okay.
But like it does work for this bit. Yeah, I suppose we've got two options, right? We could investigate initial state a little bit more to try and figure it out a little bit better, or we could move on to mutations and trying to learn that bit.
Okay. What would you prefer to look at?
Yeah, we need to bug someone who actually knows it to get like a quick response, I suppose. I suppose it'll be interesting, at least from your point of view, to see what happens on line 7 if you change that anonymous function to the identity function.
Okay.
And then
So do you want to do you want to paste a line of code for changing the initial state to the
I mean, this
function?
I can do.
Okay.
Because the identity.
Just identity. Okay.
Yeah, it should take in the map and then it should output the map, which is what that function is kind of doing already. Because you see, it's just taking in an ID and then it's outputting an ID, taking in a name and outputting a name.
Oh, thanks. So much fun, huh? It's just, what I was going to do is something really like
And then we would need to change the maps on line 8 and 9 to be person namespace.
so like that.
Yeah, because those are the keys that are in our database. And that's what we were returning earlier on line 10.
So we need to do the same with the name as well then.
Yeah. I thought this would work, but for some reason this doesn't work, so I'm interested to see what the error is, because I've forgotten what it is. If you reload your browser, I think you should see an error.
Compilation failed. Error. This
Right.
is...
I think the Fulcro macro fails. It says there's a problem.
Encountered an error when macro expanding. Yeah. Defs. Invalid component options. Please check and make sure your query ident initial state are correct at line 9 of client. So line 9.
Yeah.
No. Oh, okay, line 9. So in the browser, line 9 is here. So if we look at initial state identity, we noticed identity is. Are you sure identity is correct?
Well, it should be referring the closure function identity, which does exist, I think, which should take one argument and then return that same argument. And the argument that I think is being passed in is our maps of person ID and person name. But yeah, for some reason that I can't work out, Fulcro doesn't like it. What happens if you put an anonymous function in place of the identity function that takes in a x and then returns x? Does it work? Yeah.
So I'm just using a different keyboard to open my usual work one.
Okay.
Hang on. I'll do it around. So, so I need to do I'm going to do that like function for keyboard. Okay, so you're going to press an X and you're going to just return X, yeah? Oh, that it likes. It returns some version.
Right, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I think that example that I gave you where it was taking a namespace, sorry, a map without fully namespace keys was from the video.
Okay.
And I can see why you might want to do that. Like if your initial state is large, then doing the global IDs is a bit shorter. But I don't know why that decision was made. It's also interesting that it doesn't work with identity, because that practically is the identity function. The macro must be doing something strange.
Does the initial state have to be a function? If I do another function, yeah, you can still see Emacs here. If I do another function, and this time I'm going to return can I do this instead?
I think the function is expected to return a map that contains the information of the person.
Because we've got ident, which is just the person ID. Well,
I don't think it's I don't think it references itself like that.
Yeah, I understand.
You might be able to return a map, and then like all your people will be whatever the content of the map is.
This person that we've got here, so we're destructuring the person that's coming in, and we're getting the keys name. And I don't know if I'm doing this syntax the right way around, but I do as P. Is that the right way around, or something to go inside there? I forget. But then we've got P.
I think there's a ordering issue, because I think the initial state function runs first, and then I think the constructor of person runs second. So like we're trying to reference something that doesn't necessarily exist right now. I think, not 100% on that.
Okay. So previously I've got the destructuring wrong. It is inside here. It's P.
Does that work when you reload the page?
Well, I'll share what it does because it returns a warning. So it's not a compilation error. It returns. In fact, I want to save time. I'll just paste it into Emacs what it's returning. But this is inside a. This isn't to the browser itself. This is just to as part of the Fulcro inspect tool.
Yeah.
So it's saying that there's a problem.
Cool. Yeah,
so
that sounds about right to me. Because
undeclared var.
I think chronologically, initial state is the first thing to run.
Yeah.
And so when it runs, P is undefined, and then P might come in later.
Yeah. So
I like the little arrow to the error though. That's quite cool.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Should we put up the docs to mutations in Fulcro? Because I didn't get as far as documenting the mutations.
Okay.
Just check what that looks like. Yeah, I think we should read the 2.6 section of the Fulcro book once you're ready.
So I've brought up the Fulcro book in my browser. And I'm looking at, as you said, 2.6.1 mutations. Mutations are a first class, higher order citizen of Fulcro. And include all the possible interactions that UI might have with the local graph database.
Can you change the thing from the Emacs to your browser?
Sure.
Just so we can go through it together.
So, um, so yeah, with all the possible interactions that your UI might need to have with the local graph database and any remote servers, mutations are similar to specific handler cases of reducers in Vindex. It's more akin to the request of a CQRS system in that they are serialized into a network-compatible form so that a single operation can be abstractly communicated with the local logic and remote servers without having to deal with the low-level details. The UI layer need know nothing about these details because it simply submits transactions that look like this.
Okay. So that's the first time we've seen this being used.
Transact, yeah. That person, in this case, is not a function instead of a mutation. If we call add person as a function, it simply retains the expression is named array space resolved CLJS data. A list containing a fully qualified symbol and the evaluated parameters. So interesting. This is an important point. You can also write these with closure quoting, which makes it even more obvious that you're not calling something in the UI. Core point is that the UI submits an abstract bit of data to Fulcro's transaction system. The UI doesn't usually directly manipulate anything to do with the database network or any other async APIs. Mutations are written as separate code units using def mutation, which is a mutation similar to defin and def record the protocol. Okay, so we're defining kind of mutation you have. Each section represents how that particular mutation interacts with the world around it. The action section describes what happens locally and optimistically to the client database before the network. This is the main place where you manipulate the graph database, how you swap, etc. The note sections, which is any section that I'm giving action, describe how that mutation should interact with some particular server. Rename them and remote is the default name. Remotes are defined at the top level of the application so that the network code is not mixed with mutations at all. Remotes usually just return true to indicate the mutation should be forwarded onto the server that represents unchanged. You can also make decisions based on state and even rewrite the transaction that will flow the network. Other start action sections have to do with handling network results as they occur. This is simple UI you can turn into a combination of optimistic actions, remote interactions, etc. Mutations are allowed to new transactions themselves, so sections like OK action can check results of remote interactions and they decide what to do for anything else. Let's go back. We've got OK action and we've got error action, so this is like really, it's sort of is like an async function in JavaScript.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm wondering if it will be helpful to bring up the third video, because it will have an example of writing a mutation that's specific for the app that we're currently writing, that has people in it and that kind of stuff.
Isn't the video like 20 minutes long?
Yeah. We would have to skip through it.
Yeah, because, well, shall I stop presenting and then you present?
Yeah, and try and find it.
Okay.
Okay.
This video covers an introduction to getting going.
Okay, so that was number 1. So you can see he was working on the sample component there.
Yeah.
That was number 2. So I think, I don't know if you can see it because it's a little bit fuzzy, but where my cursor is, I think we're going to need to import the def mutation macro. If I can get back to that part of the video. Oh god, that's so poor quality. I'm gonna try and add it here because I'll get the autocomplete should kick on. Okay, mutations. So fuzzy, but I think he's referring to it as M, and then further mutation. Okay, can I jump to that? No, can I jump to that? Okay, so yeah, I would add. Can you see this line 5? Okay.
Yeah. Is it that, can you explain why we've got an asterisk? Okay.
That shouldn't be there. I don't know what that other one does.
And IntelliJ is not picked up that that's okay. Is this Conde?
I think it's probably both. But it's just complaining that I haven't used it yet, which is a correct.
Oh, the correct interpretation, yeah.
Let's play this out a little bit.
Where does he put his mutation then? Is it after he...
So I remember in his video I think he does put it in this file, but he does talk about how most people like to put their mutations in a different file.
Good, because as soon as you put in the def mutation require line, my clean code sense started tingling.
Oh right, yeah.
And I think probably.
I thought you were talking about a linter then, but yeah.
no, my inner one. Maybe we should at this point create our own namespace for the mutations for the client. So we could define namespace app.client.mutations.
Yeah, we could do that. I don't know if I should be. App.client.mutations.
Oh. I'm just going to call it mutations. So the app.mutations. Okay.
Oh, you meant a folder, didn't you?
Yeah. No, I didn't actually. I meant just a file because we can refactor that later. I think just a file to begin with. Okay. We shouldn't do a premature optimization. I think app mutations to me seems fine. So many times I like people to do something. It's if you definitely know it's going to get bigger and bigger, then having a folder makes sense. But in this exploration, I think probably just having its own file to begin with is even better.
Okay, cool.
But, so have you created it as a CLJS? But we're just going to live in a CLJS world for the moment.
Yeah, just because I don't know what it should be.
Okay.
I get the impression it could work as a CLJC file, but I honestly don't know right now. Okay, so he started to make a mutation.
Can I have a look at your client to see?
Yeah.
You need to require.
Okay. Okay, so a mutation looks like a function a little bit. He's making one called, yeah, there's some bits of this that I haven't put into the guide yet because And it wasn't particularly useful to just like add random keys like age 20, but it is being useful now. I don't know. He also added cars as a sub cardinality to like people. So like people can have many cars, the same way that we can have a sample with many people.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna modify this. Oh,
Can you go back to the cars?
yeah.
I can't quite read what he's got. Are we talking about motor vehicle?
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in. That doesn't work on videos. Okay. I could full screen it, I suppose. I don't know if that'll help.
Okay. And you're doing different.
This is interesting as well. Like his initial state isn't a function. It's a map.
Yeah.
That's interesting. If I can get him to move that, right.
But is that because at this point in the person, so the sample, that sample also is not a function.
No.
I thought it might be the case where the sample would be the function.
I wonder if it's, because I've skipped ahead here, I wonder if it's a case of like, he shows you a certain way to do it to show you how it's working under the hood, and then like it turns out there's a short syntax for it or something. Like these maps instead of functions.
Yes.
That would make a bit more sense, I guess. Can we try this refactor on yours? So we change your initial states to just be maps that look something like this.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm going to try and do it on mine at the same time as well. So initial state.
Can you to share my screen there?
Yeah. I'll stop saying.
So, I'm going to present in maps again.
Okay.
And platform. So here the initial step, are you saying we should just grab this map of person ID and then?
So let's start with the sample component.
Okay.
If we delete the initial state function and then replace it with a map,
So is this map suitable?
And then in his example, he's got a vector of those maps that we have, but without the comp or the person stuff inside.
Is that too loud?
Don't know.
No, it's all right. Oh, that's strange. So you can see my screen.
Yeah.
You can see I've got this hint. So space code takes me into all the nice Lispy functions for moving things around. Now you can see that I can't see a D there on my options, but if I do D and X, I can delete the whole S expression. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to put my configuration of my ability to do that route. Oh, okay. So I've got rid of the comp as well.
Okay, cool. And then
So
on his person component,
yeah,
he's deleted the function again, and there's a map there.
it's the map.
Yeah, and the map has. Well, we'll talk about the map once the function's gone.
Okay.
And then keep the keys as they are.
Oops. So we've got person ID, person name. You want me to change that?
So the value of person ID should be a keyword that's namespaced by param, and then ID is the second segment of the keyword.
Try to
Paste that in.
paste that into chat so you're not fumbling. So we've got person ID, and you say change this ID to param ID.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah. And
and
then
then
yeah.
person name should be param name.
Yeah. And then if you reload the browser, it'll be interesting to see if it still works.
Yeah, it's still showing salmon edging, so I'm just going to manually restart it. So it's loading.
Cool. That's cool.
And yeah, it's showing salmon edging stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that's much nicer than what was there before.
Yeah. So now we need to introduce mutation.
Yeah, do you want to switch to your mutation namespace?
Yeah.
And before, because he's going to make a mutation called make older. We don't have a age yet. Should we go back to our client and add a age so that we can follow along correctly?
Yeah. So in here we've got person ID, and we want to have an age for them, yeah?
Looking at his video, it looks like he's cheated for age a slight bit. What he's done is he's gone to his person component and he's added to the query person age, which we'll need to do regardless.
To show your screen, do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know the video is a little bit small, but he's cheated in his initial state. What he's done is he said every person is aged 20 instead of it being passed in. So if
Can I have a look at that step? His one and how it compares. So you've got on person. Okay, yeah, I can see. Yeah.
And age is also on the query. I think that's important. I'm not sure. So he's added age to the destructuring. There's age in the query, and there's age in the initial state. He's also gone to the lengths of displaying it in the UI as well. I'm just going to tidy up this initial state. It was a map, wasn't it? Person name. And then he cheated and just put 20 in there. Age can come out.
But how does he access in the DOM?
Why am I not getting phone from? It wouldn't work anyway, would it? It would need Okay, so person has an age. It doesn't need to be passed in. And then if I look at my app. That's weird. I've made a lot of changes to my person component, but I'm not getting any changes on my page. Okay. Have you had any luck getting an age to display?
Not yet. Yes, I have now, yes. So,
yeah, I needed to.
well, can you show me what you've done? Because I've probably done something different to you.
Yeah, you can see my screen. So I've done the same sort of hack that he's done, where he set the initial state of the person's age for everyone to be 20. I suppose if I wanted to do that properly, I would add the key of the age to each individual person, and then I would do param age as the value.
That's what I've done, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you need to refresh the application to see that change that you've done.
Yeah. Yeah, I only just discovered that because, well, I forgot that, I suppose. Okay, so that puts us in a good position for making this mutation of make older, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, def mutation, make older. And then he's using some destructuring on primary key. So person keys. Right, what are these errors? That's refusing to show me for some reason. Resolve def mutation as specified def mutation. Part mutation. Okay. Oh, I think this got fixed actually. Yeah, it did. There was a little bit where he's showing like how to get cursive to understand def mutation. Okay, so let's skip ahead a little bit. Okay, so he's making an action. And pause it there and do the same. So make an action. And then he destructures on a key called state. And then what happens? Okay. So inside of the action, inside of the def mutation, it looks like the state that is passed in is the database. That's probably my guess. And since it's a normalized database, it should be like really easy to modify because everything's fairly flat. So let's swap state. Something wrong with my window manager.
Sorry, what's the outline?
Sorry, the action line.
What's he running? What are you installing?
This is the window manager that it's playing up with. It should be, when I switch to a workspace, it should be focusing the app, but it's not doing that. It's annoying. Right, swap state. Update. What was it? Oh, a vector of person ID. Then the ID that we want, and then the attribute that we want, which is stage. And then we're going to modify it by incrementing. Okay. What's interesting is I don't think action has been defined anywhere. Well, at least not in my code anyway. So did he add that as a...
Can I check your updating? Just person ID. Oh, okay. Trying to mentally follow on the update process. Okay. Yeah.
Where is action defined now? No, it's not where I want it to be.
So that definite mutation, that has to be called somewhere. Have you...
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ignore the errors for a second and skip ahead. So he makes the mutation, make older. think he plays around with. He demonstrates that thing in the docs where if you call the function, or you call a mutation like a function, it returns like this data. I think that's like transaction data. But we're more interested in hooking it up to the UI, so I think that happens at some point. Oh, here we go. So we should copy this line and see if it works. Client. So we're going to add a DOM button that takes in a map. It has the on click. And then that takes a function const transact. So this is where we put this, which I think needs to come from that first argument. And then the parameter after that is a list of transactions, so a vector of transactions. So we're going to need to do mutations dot make order. And then what does he put in here? Does he okay, so a map of the key, unique key, person ID, and then the ID which I'm going to have to add to the destructure. We are past it.
When you put this in, okay, no. I thought you were passing the state of the whole application initially, but now you've got to be precise on which ID you're making older.
Okay, so I do have some buttons here which don't have text, but that's because I've not put any text on them. Yeah, look at that.
So far close to what you've got. Yeah, I've got a conversion on, so what am I doing?
Should we swap to your Emacs for a sec?
Yeah. Oh yeah, hang on. I'm just being too. It's something like unconstant and corresponding. Let's just go to that. That's not like undeclared file Fulcro components transact. Because is it transact exclamation mark?
Yeah.
Can I look at your code, please, with your person ID in the make.
I posted it into the chat bit.
Okay. Which mutations over person ID? Okay, yeah. Okay, I don't know what the best thing to share really. Let's share Emacs and then I can post the error.
Okay.
Okay, right. Present now, window. Emacs share. What's that's happening? So, for some reason, can you see my home button here? It errors because of the ID. It thinks the use of undeclared variable at client ID. And it actually, in the browser, it highlights ID.
It's because on line, on line 8, I think, currently, like above.
Oh,
I need to
pass in the ID, of course. And so it's not erroring, but it's not incrementing the mutations. So let's quickly switch to my mutations. So I've got action, I'm passing the state, I'm swapping state, updating person ID, image, and incrementing.
Yeah.
Is that the same Joe's?
I'll post mine, but it looks very similar to me.
That's my input.
Maybe copy the version in chat underneath.
Oh, sorry, I've not seen it in the chat. No, I see it, yeah.
I think they are the same, but it's obviously a bit hard to see.
Oh, yeah, I see what's wrong. I've done plan.
Yeah.
And if I open up, and it's still not doing it. Have I saved that properly? No, it's not doing anything. I'm going to try reloading the whole app. The connection's closed, loading. No, it's not doing anything. Okay, can I have a look at your desk person, please? Or paste
Yeah.
your desk person. Have you still got the param age in manually?
Sorry, what did you say?
Are you still pre-populating the age in the
Yeah,
person?
but I think it shouldn't matter for this. I think as
I hope not.
yeah, I think what you've got is correct.
Okay, yeah, I can see your comments.
Can you see the button at all on your browser?
Yeah, I can't see the button.
It's just that clicking doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see anything in the console log when you click the button?
It's
I think.
oh yeah, so I've got to make a change here. So I'm just doing app mutations as
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, that's done it. That's done it. Something's wrong in the old version. Oh, no, I thought I could see it. I'm not sure what the difference is, but yeah, that's certainly cracked it.
Oh, you just pasted in the new one. The bits that were a little bit weird to me were the. Well, maybe it's fine, but like your DOM li takes 4 arguments. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to work.
So the with the DOM li,
Yeah.
If you put in that, it will just put the name, then a hyphen, then the age, and then it put the button there.
So does it just apply like? Okay. Well, I mean, you saw it, so it must have been working.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
So if I change that to param, age, let's see if that is. I'm having to reset because it's got to get the initial state of the app. So it's loading. Okay, it's got the 2 differences. Yeah, now it's doing it. I don't know if I was clicking on it properly or not, but it's certainly incrementing those values. I think we've gone over the 2-hour mark, so probably with the success of those changing the states, I think now would be a good time to stop.
Yeah. The last thing to check out is in your DB inspect. There's a tab called transactions.
Okay, let me share that then, and we can have a look at the transactions.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you click transactions, that's all of the button clicks, and they've all got like timestamps of when they occurred and the change that they made. I think if you click one of them, you get a diff, is that right?
Oh,
So you can see what the database was before the transaction and what it was after the transaction. And then I think you can also like take the transaction out of history, I think. Like in that list that you were in a moment ago. I suppose if you click transactions again. Oh, press the cross in the top right to close this transaction.
I see.
Yeah, you could press that button, I think, to get rid of the transaction. Did you see like the curly sort of refresh arrow thing? I think. And then if you click the DB tab, there's a time travel bar at the top. If you pull that back, it should rewind your ages.
Ah, um, wow. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you can like snapshot transactions and do all kinds of like cool debugging stuff. But yeah, that's quite powerful as it is. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to watch the other video 4, I guess, next week.
Yeah.
See what's
Okay.
next.
I'll try and take some time to catch up on the videos to bring something more to the table. That was good. That was really good.
Yes, cool.
Thank you, Adrian.
That's all right.
Have a good week.
Yeah, thank you.
And see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.